Well, the Christmas holiday has come and gone, but it hasn't been that long ago, so we still have the yummy, delicious holiday aftertaste in our mouths and hearts. So today I'm going to do something special and tell you a story about two of my best Christmases. And heads up, both of them involve computers. Oh, glorious machines. So in second grade, we had Christmas as usual. My brother came over, my aunt came over with him, because obviously he lives with them, and all that good jazz. And we were all amped up. But I guess they knew, even though we've never done this before, they had us each sleep with an adult. I slept in my grandmother's bed, and my aunt and brother slept in my bed. And the next day I got my hair done, and then after my grandma did my hair, I guess she went downstairs to get stuff started and set up, you know, as parents do. And I was in my grandma's bed again, watching Cartoon Network, waiting for her to get the show on the road, being a little amped up, energized, overstimulated, overwhelmed kid. And I'm sitting there starting to get a little angsty and anxious and all that good crap and impatient. And then I got yelled at a little bit, not yelled at, but let's just say scolded by my aunt that Christmas isn't about that, and we're going to do this as a family and be patient and stop all that noise, blah, blah, blah. So, the moment finally arrived, and I'm sitting there all amped up, and I'm like, all right, computer, no whammy, stop! Eeny, meeny, miny, mowing my presents. And so, I opened my first present, and oh boy, a computer! And you may be asking, how does a computer fit in a tiny box? Well, it was one of those little rinky-dink VTech toy laptop computers with all the educational games, math, reading, spelling, creativity, etc. And even though it was a toy, I loved that thing to pieces. I loved that thing to pieces until I was in the, 6th grade when I got my first Braille note taker, which is basically like a PDA for those in the sighted world. So basically, yeah, even though I had got a lot of new toys and stuff, a lot of nice toys and stuff that I love to this day, I played with that computer all day. And then my brother, he had got a computer too, but his was from my grandmother and mine was from my grandfather, and my aunt was sitting there, because as a kid, I had a bit of a sharing problem. She was getting us to try to trade off and try each other's computers, and I was not having none of it. I'm like, you must be crazy. I just got this computer. I wanted a computer all my life. I'm not letting it out of my sight. And then the adults were all, if you don't share, we're going to take that computer away from you and you're going to take a timeout. So I was like, you know how kids do and all mad and stuff. And I also got a toy piano keyboard, an accordion, I got a doll. I got a few dolls actually that year. I got a crawling baby doll, electronic crawling baby doll. I got one of those Babble and Sing Cabbage Patches that was one of my favorite dolls. And I got a kid-sized hand-holding walking doll that was not electronic. Basically, it was the size of like a toddler or something. I would say, I guess a 5-year-old or something. And you hold its hand, and I guess the feet were made to balance so that if you stood it upright, it would stay standing up, and then you would hold its hand, hold both its hands, and it would walk with you. But again, not electronic. It was just the way that they were, I guess they carved out the pieces or molded the pieces. The legs and the feet and the hands, etc. Yeah, I got some pretty neat presents that year. And then plus I got this one toy, and I can't for the life of me, remember what it was called, but basically it was a toy. It was a sound machine, but it was like a TV studio sound machine. Like, each of the buttons had a different sound. It was like, one was entry music, one was audience participation, one was applause, etc., etc. It was all TV themed. And then connected to it was a hardwired in microphone. So basically, like, are you ready to get this show on the road? And then you hit the audience participation button and they'd be like, yeah! So then you could pretend to, like, put on little shows and stuff. And this thing was portable and could be clipped onto your belt loop and stuff. Unfortunately, I had played on this little stupid computer all day, and I played with it until 1 in the morning. And my grandmother was like, aren't you going to go to bed yet? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And I said, fine. And then I put on the Jeffersons, if you can believe that. I put on Channel 50, which was the WB in Washington, and I had watched the Jeffersons until I fell asleep, if you can believe that. And then I woke up. It was a new day. It was like, I guess, like 6 or 7 in the morning. I turned on the computer and it was acting weird because I had run the brand new batteries down. And I cried and I was so upset. And then for the next few days, I had to use it on the electrical outlet. But my grandmother didn't like me plugging stuff in and out, so whenever I wanted to use my computer, I had to ask for somebody to plug it in the dining room, because they didn't want me using anything electrical in my room that involved being plugged in and unplugged, so yeah. So finally, my granddad went to work, and on his way home from work, he bought batteries. Yay! And the saga continued. Until I started getting older and started learning how to use a real computer. And then finally the day of my freshman Christmas, which was the Christmas when I was a high school freshman. I was 14. It took place in 2005. And I knew 2 of the presents that I was going to get because my mother had told me. I was getting a Family Guy DVD, which was that new Family Guy movie back then, Stewie Griffin, The Untold Story, which they had wound up making into like a 3-part episode like a year later. And a Jackson 5 CD. Now, I knew those 2, but I didn't know that I was getting a plug-and-play Disney game or a computer, a real one. So, Christmas Eve night, Uncle Richard had discreetly come over and set the computer up. And then Christmas morning, which was on a Sunday, you know how it is. You gotta wait for your parents to get up and all that and get stuff started. I woke up at 6 a.m. Nothing got started till like 8 or 9 a.m. And I waited and watched Cartoon Network and all the different like animated specials they had on there. And I watched ABC Family and their little 25 Days of Christmas thing. And I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And I just got impatient and I couldn't take it anymore. And I knew that if I tried to ask her to hurry up and wake up and let's get this thing started, she would take even more time. So I had the not so bright idea of going downstairs and trying to secretly open presents and peek in them to see if I had gotten anything else besides the DVD and the CD that I knew I was getting. So basically I went downstairs quietly, on tiptoe of course. And then I tore off what I thought were barely noticeable corners of wrapping paper to try to peek in and see. And I saw the Disney video game, but I didn't really pay much attention to it because I thought that was supposed to be for my little sister, since my mother said that she had got her a plug-and-play game, but I didn't know I was getting one, so I just basically didn't pay that any mind. And then fast forward a few hours, my grandmother finally woke up. She went downstairs before me, and I'm like, okay, we're about to get things started. And then another thought, oh crap, I hope she doesn't notice what I just did. And so finally, she starts calling my name and calling everybody downstairs, and then she's like, Arthur, Sean, whoever else, blah, blah, blah. But then she's like, Brittany! I'm like, oh no, she saw what I did. And I'm sitting there all like, oh, please don't do anything too bad to punish me about what just happened. And then I get downstairs and I hear her walking, and she's like, Brittany, come to the basement. I'm like, oh my Lord, the basement. What are you going to do to me for picking up presents? And then when we get to the basement, she told me to close my eyes and feel on this old desk that we've had down there for the longest time, and I felt a keyboard. I had gotten a new computer with XP on it and all that good stuff, and it was brand new. The good news is that I had got a computer for Christmas, but the bad news was I had to wait about a week for my friend to come and put help put a screen reader on there. So basically, everybody got to play on it but me. I had to wait a whole week. And those were a couple of my best Christmases.